Hello, and welcome to the rewrite of the VISTA Member Service Year Charts computer-based training video. This video will present a brief introduction, important terms and definitions, user roles and system access, as well as the preferred order of data entry. The video will then provide training modules on the various components of the new MSY Charts system. As a brief introduction to the project, the new MSY chart system provides a more efficient way of tracking MSY production by automatically populating data from the production database, alleviating the need for reconciliation. To clarify the difference between MSY data entered by VISTA HQ, area managers, and state directors, or those having a state director role, three terms have been defined. For the purposes of the new system, the term allocation refers to the total amount of MSYs assigned to each cluster by VISTA HQ. The term target refers to the MSYs distributed to each state and multi-state project by the area managers. Lastly, the term projection refers to the estimated personnel action data entered by the state directors or those having a state director role. Four roles have been defined for the system. Users with an area manager role have edit access to the cluster allocations. This role is reserved for VISTA HQ. The area manager role provides edit access to the state targets, as well as the ability to set up a threshold for receiving email notifications regarding the under or over production of MSYs. This role is reserved for area managers. The state director role provides edit access to the MSY charts, as well as the ability to set up a threshold for on-screen notifications regarding MSY production. This role may be used by a true state director or state office staff members who help to manage the MSY charts. Roles can be assigned by request through the OIT help desk. The system flowchart illustrates the screen sequence each user may experience. The flowchart also differentiates access levels. The screens to which users have edit access are highlighted in orange. Read-only screens are illustrated in gray. Prior to the beginning of a fiscal year, data entry should occur in the following order. First, VISTA HQ enters cluster allocations. Next, area managers enter state and multi-state targets. Lastly, state directors or those having a state director role enter projection data. Cluster allocations, state and multi-state targets, and projection data can be adjusted throughout the year as needed. Limitations on entering and editing projection data will be touched upon later in this video. To navigate to the MSY chart system, log into the staff portal and select Reports at the top of the screen. A menu containing MSY chart screen links should appear at the left. The following screen capture illustrates navigation to the MSY chart system. The cluster allocation screen provides the first point of entry in the MSY distribution process. To configure the cluster allocation screen, select the MSY cluster allocation link from the menu. Next, configure the screen by selecting a fiscal year from the drop-down menu. Allocations can only be entered for the current fiscal year or for the upcoming fiscal year. The next fiscal year's charts will be available on August 1st of the current year. Users may view the cluster production report by selecting the checkbox next to Show Actual and Projected MSYs. Select Show Targets to view the configured cluster allocation screen. On the cluster allocation screen, VISTA HQ enters a total MSY allocation per cluster. This is the number that area managers will then distribute among the states and multi-state projects within their clusters. To enter data, place the cursor in the enterable cells located next to the name of each cluster. The total allocations assigned calculate at the bottom of the allocation column. Select Submit to save data. The allocations entered on this screen automatically populate each cluster's state target screen. The cluster allocation screen contains several columns. To review, VISTA HQ enters a total MSY allocation per cluster in the allocation column. The total calculates at the bottom. The targets columns, consisting of standard MSYs produced, cost share MSYs produced, and grant MSYs funded, illustrate the target MSY distribution per purpose code category per cluster. The target data automatically populates the cluster allocation screen as entered by the area managers on the state targets screens. The total target MSYs column provides the sum of target MSY distribution by area managers to date. The difference column provides the difference between MSYs allocated and distributed. The following screen capture illustrates how to view or enter cluster allocations. This slide illustrates two cluster allocation examples. Example 1 illustrates a situation in which VISTA HQ has entered an allocation of 3,000 MSYs for the Atlantic cluster. The Atlantic cluster area manager has not yet distributed the allocation among the purpose code categories. Therefore, the total target MSYs column remains 0, creating a difference of negative 3,000 MSYs. Example 2 illustrates a situation in which VISTA HQ has entered an allocation of 3,000 MSYs for the North Central cluster. The North Central cluster area manager has distributed 1,000 MSYs to each of the 3 purpose code categories. Therefore, the total target MSYs column sums to 3,000, creating a difference of 0 MSYs. The cluster production report is located at the bottom of the cluster allocation screen. The report provides a quick view of MSY production in comparison to MSY allocations. The table reflects actual and projected MSY data to date. The A and P columns illustrate the sum of actual MSYs produced to date and projected MSY production for the remainder of the fiscal year. The Grant MSYs Funded column illustrates the target value designated for Grant MSYs Funded. Grant MSYs produced are projected and tracked on the MSY Charts, however, Grant MSYs Funded are not. The Target Diff columns illustrate the difference between A and P MSY production to date and target MSYs. The total MSYs produced plus funded column provides the sum of A and P MSY production and Grant MSYs Funded per cluster. The total difference column provides the difference between total MSYs produced and funded and the MSY allocation per cluster. The State Target screen provides a point of entry for MSY target values for state and multi-state projects. To configure the State Target screen, select the MSY State Targets link from the menu. Next, configure the screen by selecting a fiscal year from the drop-down menu and a cluster from the cluster drop-down menu. Targets can only be entered for the current fiscal year or the upcoming fiscal year. The next year's fiscal charts will be available on August 1st of the current year. Users may view the state and multi-state production report by selecting the checkbox next to Show Actual and Projected MSYs. Select Show Targets to view the configured State Targets screen. On the State Targets screen, area managers enter a total MSY target value for each purpose code category. Area managers are only able to enter data for their cluster. The allocation entered for the cluster by VISTA HQ automatically populates the screen. To enter data, place the cursor in the enterable cells located below each purpose code category. The total calculates at the right and will remain in red until the total and the cluster allocation are equal. Data cannot be saved until the two numbers are equal. Select Submit to save data. Next, the area managers distribute the target values given to each purpose code category among the states and multi-state projects within their cluster. The target values automatically populate each state and multi-state project's MSY charts. To enter data, place the cursor in the enterable cells located next to each state or multi-state project. The totals calculate at the bottom and will remain in red until the totals equal the target value entered for each purpose code category. Data can be saved without equaling the target values entered per purpose code category. Select Submit to save data. The following screen capture illustrates how to view or enter state targets. The State and Multi-State Production Report provides a quick view of MSY production in comparison to MSY target data. The table reflects actual and projected MSY data to date. The A&P columns illustrate the sum of actual MSYs produced to date and projected MSY production for the remainder of the fiscal year. The target diff columns illustrate the difference between A&P MSY production to date and target MSYs. This slide illustrates 3 state and multi-state production report examples. Example 1 illustrates a situation in which a target value of 100 standard MSYs produced has been specified for Illinois. The actual production and projected production to date is 67.29 MSYs, creating a negative difference or an underproduction of 32.71 MSYs. In this example, a contributing factor to the large difference may be that all projections for Illinois have yet to be entered. Example 2 illustrates a situation in which a target value of 100 standard MSYs produced has been specified for Michigan. The actual production and the projected production to date is 104.38 MSYs, creating a difference or an overproduction of 4.38 MSYs. Example 3 illustrates a situation in which a target value has not been specified for standard MSYs produced for Ohio. The actual production and projected production to date is also 0, creating no difference. The MSY charts provide state directors and state office staff members a point of entry for MSY projection data. Others may also use the read-only MSY charts for informational purposes. The target MSY value assigned by the area manager will automatically populate each state or multi-state project's MSY chart. Data is automatically populated from the production database as personnel actions take place, relieving the need for reconciliation. To configure an MSY chart, select a fiscal year and a state, multi-state project, or cluster from the drop-down menus. You can also select to view a national chart. The next year's fiscal charts will be available on August 1st of the current year. Next, use the radio buttons to select a predefined projection group, or use the checkbox option to select individual purpose codes. Projections can only be entered on MSY charts configured at the state or multi-state project level via a predefined projection group. State directors or state office staff members can only enter projections for their state or multi-state project. Select Show Chart to view the configured MSY chart. This slide illustrates the purpose codes that make up each predefined projection group. The projection groups are Standard, Grant, and Cost Share. The following screen capture illustrates how to configure an MSY chart. The MSY chart screen contains several features. The configuration of the MSY chart is provided at the top center portion of the screen. The fiscal year, the cluster or state selection, and the purpose code selections are displayed. The cumulative number of MSYs listed at the top left of each MSY chart is the sum of actual MSY production to date and projected MSY production for the remainder of the fiscal year. The target MSY values assigned to each state or multi-state project by the area manager automatically populate the MSY charts in the top left portion of the screen. The date corrected listed at the top left portion of the screen is the date that the MSY chart was last edited. Users may select to print or export an MSY chart to Excel or PDF using the buttons at the top right portion of the screen. The Save Changes button will be enabled for users who have edit access to the system and will be disabled for all other users. Saving changes saves data to the database. Personnel actions are divided into categories of VISTA status: current, residual, summer associates, leader, and leader residual. To enter projection data, place the cursor in the enterable cells within the MSY chart associated with the appropriate personnel actions. Enter data and select Save Changes to save data to the database. During this process, the background color of the edited cells will turn yellow and will return to normal once data is saved. To create what-if scenarios, enter projection data, but do not select the Save Changes button. When looking at the MSY chart, original projections are shown in parentheses. Original projections are only displayed if the actual data differs from the original projection. Actual data is shown as a red link or in black text if 0. The following screen capture illustrates how to enter projection data on an MSY chart. The system will allow for manual entry of residuals on board the first of the month until October 1st. Projection data may be entered for the current month until the 8th day of the month or until the close of business the first business day following a weekend. This cutoff date does not affect the entry of projection data for future months. Projection data can only be entered for the current fiscal year or the upcoming fiscal year on or after August 1st of the current year. Projection data for a particular month will be used in the calculation of cumulative MSYs until the month has passed, at which time the actual data will be used. To hide a line item, select the arrow icon located next to a status category, such as current or residual, or select the arrow icon next to a single personnel action. To restore line items, scroll to the bottom of the screen and select the link of the category name or number associated with the personnel action. The following screen capture illustrates how to hide and restore line items. To view member detail data, select a red link to actual data within the MSY chart. The member detail data screen will open in a new window. Select a category at the top of the table to sort by different criteria. Select an NSP ID to view a member's status history. The status history will open in a new window. The following screen capture illustrates how to view member detail data. To view a comparison of past year's data, select the abbreviation for a month within an MSY chart. The past data comparison screen will open in a new window and provide actual personnel action data for the selected month for the past 3 consecutive years. The following screen capture illustrates how to view a comparison of past year's data. Users may select to print or export an MSY chart to Excel or PDF using the buttons at the top right portion of the screen. The following screen capture illustrates the output options for MSY charts. Email notifications are issued to area managers for states and multi-state projects within their cluster. The email is issued when a user having a state director role saves newly entered projection data and the updated cumulative MSY production for the configured MSY chart triggers the specified threshold. On-screen notifications are issued to users having a state director role for their associated state or multi-state project. On-screen notifications are issued when newly entered projection data is saved and the updated cumulative MSY production for the configured MSY chart triggers the specified threshold. The on-screen notification occurs in the form of a pop-up dialog box. Users can select OK to continue and save the newly entered data, or they can select Cancel to return to the MSY chart and adjust the data. Notifications are provided to area managers and state directors regarding the over or underproduction of MSYs in relation to a specified threshold. Notifications are issued for the predefined standard, grant, and cost share purpose code configurations at the state and multi-state project level only. Notifications are triggered by data entry at the state or multi-state level by those having a state director role. The thresholds that control the release of notifications are configurable per user. Users having an area manager or state director role can use the MSY notification threshold setup screen to configure the threshold that will trigger on-screen or email notifications. The notifications indicate an under or overproduction of MSYs for a particular user's state or multi-state project. The threshold value is set at a default of plus or minus 2 MSYs from the assigned target for each state and multi-state project, if not changed by the individual user. Area managers may specify different thresholds for each state or multi-state project within their cluster, or they may assign the same threshold for all states and multi-state projects within their cluster at once. State directors may only specify a threshold for their state or multi-state project. To specify a threshold, select the View MSY Charts link from the menu options. Next, select a cluster, state, or multi-state project from the drop-down menu. Specify the threshold in the threshold field and select Submit to save data. The following screen capture illustrates how to set up a threshold for area managers. For users having an area manager role, the Cluster State drop-down menu will default to the user's associated cluster. If the cluster is selected, the specified threshold is assigned to all states and multi-state projects within the cluster. To specify a unique threshold, select an individual state or multi-state project. The following screen capture illustrates how to set up a threshold for state directors. For users having a state director role, the Cluster State drop-down menu will default to the user's associated state or multi-state project. The MSY Production Dashboard graphically measures actual and projected MSY production to date against target MSY allocations. 3 bar graphs illustrate data at the national, cluster, and state or multi-state project levels. The dashboard displays account for all purpose codes and are not configurable via purpose code. The cluster and states displayed will default according to a user's login information. The following screen capture illustrates how to view the production dashboard. To view the production dashboard, select the MSY Production Dashboard link from the menu options. A new pop-up window will open displaying the MSY Production Dashboard. Select the radio button next to the name of a different cluster to view graphical information for states within a different cluster. The MSY Personnel Action Dashboard display measures real-time personnel actions including early terminations, completion of service, VISTAs attending PSO, PSO trainees placed on project, transfers out, and re-enrollments against the respective projected personnel actions. Bar graphs initially display national and cluster data. State and multi-state data can be viewed by using the drop-down menu. The cluster shown will default according to the user's role. Current and residual personnel actions are illustrated in separate graphs. The following screen capture illustrates how to view the Personnel Action Dashboard. To view the Personnel Action Dashboard, select the MSY Personnel Action Dashboard link from the menu options. A new pop-up window will open displaying the MSY Personnel Action Dashboard. Use the Cluster State drop-down menu to select a different cluster, state, or multi-state project to view graphical information of personnel actions for a different selection. All state and multi-state MSY charts configured via a predefined purpose code category will be exported to PDF as a scheduled job. The reports will be created on the 8th day following the end of each quarter. Online help text is provided for a variety of MSY chart topics. Users may access online help text by selecting the question mark icon located on various MSY chart screens adjacent to items associated with help text. The following screen capture illustrates how to view online help text. To view help text, select the question mark icon on an MSY chart screen. A new pop-up window will open displaying the help text. Users can select a link within the help text page to view the help text for related topics. Select Show to view a menu of topics, or to access the search function. Double-click the MSY Help Topics link to open the menu. Select a link to view help text. To use the search function, type a keyword into the search field and select Go. Select a link from the search results to view help text.